there. I'm your host, Leslie Randolph. I'm a self-confidence coach for teenage girls and the self-confidence coach you wish you had as a teen. Honestly, I'm the self-confidence coach I wish I had as a teen because I know I could have saved myself and my mother a whole lot of heartache if I'd only known then what I know now. I hope to save you some of that suffering by sharing the lessons I learned late in life right here on Why Didn't They Tell Us? Welcome to the show.
Hey, happy people. Welcome back to Why Didn't They Tell Us? So excited to be in the room with you. And I mean it. I am so excited to be in the room with you. I don't know if you got that from the last episode because I realized over the past couple weeks when I said, I'm back recording, and some friends out in the world or loyal listeners like you would be like, oh, I can't wait to listen to it. I was like, it's really just me talking about how hard it was to come back. And so I'm sure you felt all the feelings that I was feeling. I know you did, because so many people that I talked to about the episode or the social post or the newsletter that went out about it were like, I feel exactly the same. It was like everyone was in the same sort of cycle of, this is hard. I don't know how to motivate. I don't know how to get going. Did I lose my mojo? Like, what is happening? And I love when conversations like this happen because it reminds us that we are not alone in our struggles. And sometimes that's all we need. It normalizes the experience of what we're going through versus making it a problem. And it made me think about how when something is a problem, it needs to be solved. And we can spend all our mental energy being like, why do I feel this way? What's going on for me? But when it's normal, when it just is, then it can just be. It's not like this scab that you have to pick at, because we know what happens. It gets worse. Sometimes when there is a challenge, a problem, a struggle in your world, there is a cut and dry solution to it. And I gave you many of them in the last episode, of how you can keep going. Like the 3 steps to take to make the overwhelm go away and to create motivation like flowing water, right? Sometimes it's just feeling the emotion without responding to it. And if this episode, last week's episode, that idea of bouncing back resonated with you, then here's what I'm going to offer you. You can go on a scavenger hunt to understand why you're feeling unmotivated, why you're overwhelmed, or you can just normalize it. Just normalize that you're feeling that way and choose to take action anyway. So if it's, bouncing back or starting something new, it's like, I'm feeling this way and I'm going to keep going. Once you do, the overwhelm will dissipate because you are actively moving through it. And listen, it might take time, right? It's been 2 weeks since you've last heard from me. It takes time. And once you do and you keep going and you're making the overwhelm goes up, the motivation that you're seeking, it builds momentum. So I guess my big takeaway that I'm coming back to the mic with, right? As I've had time to think about this and process more, I don't want you to wait for those feelings to go away to begin, to start, to keep going. Just start feeling all those feels. It's okay. Normalize them, but bring along some new ones with you, like confidence, courage, determination, focus. Those are premium emotional fuels to have in your tank. But this week is not a recap. I had to share all that because obviously it's what got me back on the mic today. Some additional feelings in addition to the ones I was feeling. That's not what we're talking about today. This week's episode, it's keeping with the back to school theme, but with a very specific niche. And that is college-bound confidence. Around this time of year, I always get calls from moms of college-age kiddos who are struggling with the transition to a new school that's sometimes, in a new state, a totally new routine, new faces, and newfound freedom, right? And I love working with college students because this is such a critical time for cultivating confidence. And especially if they've never felt that before, right? Because now they're in this new place trying to feel these new feelings with the same beautiful brain that they left home with, right? And it doesn't matter. We can work with any of that machinery. But in addition to those calls from the college age kiddos' moms, I got a call this year from a friend of mine, a former guest actually here on Why Didn't They Tell Us? And she was telling me how she noticed that all of her typically cool, calm, and confident mom friends were also struggling with this transition of their kids going off to college. It wasn't that the college-bound kid was feeling doubt and a little anxious, though they were, but in turn, the moms were as well. So I wanted to take this episode to talk about how we cultivate college-bound confidence. And I'm going to straddle the fence here because I'm not just talking to new students who are, starting this new chapter at college. This is for moms as well. So here we go. But before we dig in, I think it's really important to have a shared definition of what confidence is. And if you're just tuning in, or if I haven't recapped it before, we're going to work with the Leslie the Life Coach definition of self-confidence. And that is a feeling that comes from loving, trusting, and believing in you. So it's a feeling that comes from our thinking and the product of taking courageous action even when every other emotion is present. If you go back to the top of the show, it's right there's that taking action, bringing new feelings to the party to go after your goals, right? We don't need those other feelings to go away. They just can't be the only ones present. So if self-confidence is a feeling, we'll go to the first part of this definition. The source of it, like I said, is your thinking. And not just any old thinking, right? We can't let our brain just go on autopilot. It has to be very deliberate and intentional thinking. Thinking that is rooted in loving, trusting, and believing in you. So at the heart of my coaching is the belief that we have the power to control our thoughts, to control our mindset, that we are fully capable of directing our brains. Now, this does not mean that we have the power to never think negative thoughts. No, that's impossible, right? That's actually what your brain is wired to do. But we do have the power to challenge those thoughts or simply turn the volume down on them. Because your thoughts are not facts. They aren't truths. Most of the thoughts that we think are fictional stories, and we're the ones writing it. So we want to use the power that we have, everyone does, to write a story that we love, especially when that story is about you. The story you write about you should be a story you love, one of empowerment. So if it's loving, trusting, and believing in you that is the source of self-confidence, here is what a college student out in this new chapter with the new faces, the newfound freedom, the new opportunity to write the story that they love. It means directing your mind to focus more on your gifts and goodness that are already within you. Focusing more on your strengths and your potential than your perceived faults or past failures. Like the same way you think about someone you love, right? Someone you love, you're not hyper-focused on all their flaws and all their failures and everything that's wrong with them and why people wouldn't like them. No, you focus on all the things you love about them and that is lovable about them. The same can be true for you. Trusting yourself. It means trusting yourself to take care of you emotionally and physically. So what does that look like at school? It means emotionally showing yourself compassion when things are hard or aren't going your way. Like not getting into the sorority you want, not loving your classes, not yet making friends. This is how you emotionally show yourself compassion. You talk to yourself, again, like someone you love. This builds up self-trust because you're not going to trust yourself if you don't know how you're going to talk to and treat yourself during times that are hard. Transition can be. Trusting yourself by showing up for you and taking care of you physically means showing up for you, showing up for your classes, doing the work needed to achieve your goals. Literally taking care of you and keeping your well-being top of mind. Easy ways to do this. And I'm sure mom will say this, right? Get enough sleep. Get out into nature. Eat well. Party responsibly. Take care of you like someone you love. You wouldn't trust somebody who didn't have your best interests in mind or didn't act in alignment with your values, right? You wouldn't be like, I don't trust them. They're like sabotaging me every turn. So the same is true for cultivating self-trust. You take care of you emotionally and physically. So loving, trusting, and then believing in you. So believing in you as you start this new journey, this new chapter, means believing in your ability to handle the transition and to not just survive it, but to thrive in it. Even if that feels far away right now, right? If you're in the thick of this is hard, I'm homesick, I'm not cut out for this, this is particularly true. This is when you need to believe, even when you don't have the evidence. Believe that you will thrive and whatever thriving looks like for you. And that should be something that you consider. If you didn't consider it before you left, that's fine. Take the time now. What does thriving look like for me in this new chapter? This is obviously unique to each person, right? But it's important to consider because it will give your brain a roadmap, not only of what you should be thinking, loving, trusting, and believing in you, but what to do and what not to do. Like, what actions should I be taking? So, for example, if academic success is a goal, I'll be thriving if I'm getting good grades. Then focusing on your ability and capability to be a good student is key. Like identifying as someone who is academically driven, like putting on, that is the story that you are telling about yourself, right? I'm going to be a great student. I am a great student. I am academically driven. And then you can build up that story by focusing on evidence that you might have from high school, that you have the ability to be a good student. Think back to times when it was hard, but you're like, but I buckled down. I made it through. I got the grade. There's the thinking part, right? So we're directing our brain not to believe the false narrative of I can't figure it out, a narrative that focuses on all the ways that it's too hard and you can't do it, but choosing the narrative that you can and you will. And then there's the doing part, right? So you need to take the steps that someone who is academically driven would take, right? It's like, oh, this is who I am. So what is someone who is this? What do they do? They go to classes. They keep up with their classwork. They seek help when they're confused or stuck. They balance academic and social so that you can keep up and still be that academically driven person you are striving to be. You think the thought and then you follow the steps of what that person you are trying to be would do. For example, I'll give you another one. If making new friends is a priority, then choosing to focus on all the reasons why you are an amazing friend and why you are someone that people would want to get to know. Again, seeing all the gifts and goodness in you, all the amazing quirks and characteristics that make you uniquely you. You know, you're the only you that campus has. You're the only you the world has. We need you to go out there and be you and think that she is amazing. And you need to believe that you will find your people just by being you, right? We won't find your people if you are anybody else. And then again, doing the work. So what is the work of someone who wants to make friends, that knows they're an amazing friend, that can't wait to meet their people just by being themselves? What does she do? She probably signs up for clubs, sports, events, or organizations that excite or align with her values, right? You talk to people on campus. Literally, just like introduce yourself to people who are sitting next to you versus, taking your seat in class and getting on your phone and not looking up. Listen, I know that this can be hard, but I think the main reason that it's hard to do the thing is because we are believing thoughts that are still that fictional story, right? So if you think it's really hard to go out there and introduce your people or to be academically driven, whatever your goal is, then there is likely a story you are telling yourself that is creating the doubt, that is creating the insecurity, and then holding you back. Some of those stories that I have been hearing from my clients of, well, everybody already has their friends. Everybody already made a group, right? And this can be really easy to believe when you walk into a cafeteria and see everyone already at a table. Your brain is immediately going to think, oh, everyone has their friends. I'm too late, right? That is a story that you can challenge, but you have to be willing to do it. You have to challenge it with new beliefs and action. Go sitting at a table, finding one person even to sit with. Some other thoughts of like, I don't know what to say to new people. A fictional story. Just say your name. I'll tell you more about that in a moment. It's awkward to go talk to someone, right? Now you're like, no, that's a true story. No, it is a fictional story. And it is one that makes you so insecure and feel so awkward to walk up to people, right? These stories, they're not just sentences in our brain. They're going to create what we feel and then stop us from doing the thing we need to do to get the result that we want. We have to challenge them. These thoughts are not facts. They are not truths. They are stories in your mind that you choose to believe or choose to challenge. You have to challenge them. These thoughts have you feeling anything but confident. They would have you feeling lonely or scared, insecure, or anxious. Again, challenge them with new beliefs about you, who you are capable of being, who you already are, and challenge them with actions. When you are going to a new school, when you're starting a new chapter, it is the opportunity to write that new story or to just bolster the belief of the old one. So I obviously haven't been in college for a while, but I did start a new journey, and I tease because I thought of it as like going to college. Can't do the math. It would have been 9 years ago. My family moved to South Africa, where I literally knew nobody. Nobody. I mean, I had my husband and I had one kid. Those are my only friends. And I remembered thinking to myself, it felt like sorority rush, right? Like, because I had to make friends. That was what thriving looked like, that I had a social life, that I had a support system so far away from home. And I would literally go up to people at tables at restaurants and say, hi, my name is Leslie. And I would ask them what to do because I also didn't know what to do, right? Like my first friend, I went up to her. She had a kid around the same age as my son. And I said, hi, my name is Leslie. I am from America. It's literally what I said. And I said, I've got an hour before a nap. Would you recommend going to the zoo or to Botanic Gardens? To this day, she is one of my dearest friends. She was my first friend in South Africa. And once I was able to do that and like make it to the other side of awkward, because you better believe those thoughts in my head of like, you're going to go up to a stranger at a restaurant? How awkward, how weird. But my willingness to do that is how I made my first friend. And then I had a little evidence in my file that I could do it again. And so I signed up for like an expat social where I could meet other expats who are in the same situation as me. And I did the same thing. Hi, my name is Leslie. I'm from America. Where are you from? I think at that point I said Chicago. But then I was able to make more friends. And again, motivation begets momentum. You keep going and you see what you're capable of. And on those days that maybe someone isn't that receptive, two things. One, that might not be your person. And two, you can love, trust, and take care of you. All choices that you get to make. It takes time to get to the other side of awkward, right? It's so necessary to be willing to get to that other side of awkward. But what exists on the other side of it is so worth it. And you have time. I think during those first couple of weeks of school, we think like, again, that belief that everyone's already found their people. False, not true. Just like Africa, when I went to that expat one, everyone is in the same boat as you. They're all new there. Those faces of your cafeteria, even if they look confident and like they have all their best friends, they are still figuring it out too. But if you are willing to be brave and get to the other side of awkward, get to the other side of getting to know somebody, it is worth it. The same definition that I have for confidence applies to moms of college-bound kids, but in true form, we have to do some additional heavy lifting as the mother. You have to love, trust, and believe in your kiddo, but you also have to love, trust, and believe in yourself. How can you do this? So you can love her by being a safe space for her to dump those big feels that she is feeling during this transition. In moderation. This can mean like setting up some scheduled times for calls versus always being available 24/7. And you can love yourself by finding someone to do the same for you. Like you need an outlet too if you are feeling doubt, anxious for her. You can trust her by not micromanaging the day-to-day and giving her the independence she needs to build up her own self-confidence, even if that means she fails or gets it wrong. I recognize that I probably have listeners on both sides, the student and the mom. And so, yes, to my students, it's okay to fail. I think that's also a false belief that it's not okay to fail. You got to fail. That's how we learn how to succeed. And moms, we got to let them fail. This is how we learn. Moms, you can trust yourself by remembering all the lessons you taught her and modeled to her whole life, right? I know so many mamas right now are wondering if you adequately prepared your teen to head off to college. It is a choice to believe you did. Choose it. Take time to remind yourself of that when you are feeling doubtful, when you are feeling anxious, when you are feeling like, I am not equipped her. And if there are any lessons you forgot along the way, which chances are you didn't, but if you did, you're like, wow, we never talked about this. It's never too late. You don't stop being your kids' parents when they leave for school. You're just taking a more active role from the sidelines versus calling the plays. And believing in yourself and believing in her, right? Love, trust, believe. Believe in her and her ability to not only survive, but thrive. You know all her gifts and goodness. Let her borrow your belief when her own is wavering. You can also do this, and I know that this may seem counterintuitive, by not giving advice. When she asks you what to do in a situation, put the question back to her. This is a huge confidence builder. It tells her that she knows best. Chances are she already knows what to do in a situation when she's struggling. And if you just give her the space to figure it out, she will. One of the questions my friends asked me when she reached out about this topic was, how long does it take for kids to get their footing at college? And it's such a great question. with no answer. Some research will say 3 to 6 weeks. Some says a year or more. It took me 2 years to get my footing when I went away for college. And honestly, that's when I decided to transfer schools and come closer to home. And I did so far more aware of who I was and how to achieve what I wanted to achieve, what thriving would look like for me. And while there isn't a clear-cut way, number of it's going to take this long, there are absolutely ways to ease the adjustment. And I'm just going to shoot them off at you. Quick fire round. Acknowledge that transition is tricky. For moms, for students, for humans. Anyone who's listening right now, it is hard. Normalize that. Nothing is wrong with you or your kid if they are having a hard time. It's hard. And you can do hard things. Both things are true. Go back to that key lesson of coaching. How much energy are you focusing on how hard it is versus how much energy you are giving your ability to handle it? That is a choice you can make. For college students, get very clear on what your goals are for the year ahead and choose to believe in your ability to achieve them. From belief, it's a lot easier to see the ways to accomplish them, right? It's that roadmap. Now, moms, you might not have a say in your kids' goals at this point. It is their own, but you can absolutely set expectations, right? And make this an ongoing conversation so both of you are in alignment with the goals and the expectations and can support each other along the way. I would also say to my college-bound, confident kiddos, stop calling you kiddos. Don't focus on the finish line. Focus on the small steps to getting there. If that idea of thriving means making new friends, set the goal of having one conversation with someone in each of your classes. And if you're like, well, that's too big, great. Set the goal of having one conversation with someone each day. Still too big? Okay. Set the goal of simply introducing yourself to one person, right? We don't need to have a conversation, but you can just do the, hi, my name is Leslie, I'm from America. Big lesson for all of us. Be willing to feel uncomfortable. Be willing to be awkward. Be willing to fail. I know it's such hard advice, but I want to offer you that none of those feelings, awkward, uncomfortable, failure, they don't hurt you. It's really your thoughts about them that hurt, right? Those thoughts are optional. That's a story you can tell about what failure means about you, about what awkward really is. What exists on the other side of awkward is so worth it. And to the moms, it's the same for you. It might feel uncomfortable to not immediately respond to every text, to not give advice, to not hop on a plane cross country and rescue, and I'm going to air quote, rescue your kiddo. Believe they don't need rescuing. Believe they can figure it out. And finally, get support. For all of us, everything is harder when you're facing it alone. And you just never have to. Find a counselor, a coach, a therapist, a support group, or a really supportive friend to ease the transition. And I'm going to close this out in an almost full circle moment as I talked about last week's episode at the top of the show. When starting something new, whether it's going off to college, watching your baby go off to college, whatever it is, there will always be uncertainty. Our brains hate uncertainty. When faced with uncertainty, your mind, if you let it go unchecked and unchallenged, it is always going to give you the worst case scenario. It's a false form of self-preservation. If I'm prepared for the worst, then I can plan for it. But the truth is, you can't most of the time. And even if you can, always worrying about it and fixating on what's going wrong or what could go wrong makes the journey unbearable. Remember, you can just choose to believe in yourself, to believe in your kid, to believe that it all works out. And it might take effort to do so. And those thoughts of worrying what might happen and are they okay and did I prepare them and am I going to make it and will I make friends, all the what ifs. They don't magically go away. But it's a choice you can make to turn the volume down on them, to take action to prove them wrong. And it is a choice so worth choosing. I hope you do. I'm cheering you on for all of it. All right, mamas, and you amazing college-bound ones, make it an awesome day. Till next time.
Love what you hear? Well, I'd love to hear from you. You can find me at confidencecoachforgirls.com. That's confidencecoachforgirls.com. Or email me at lesliethelifecoach@gmail.com. That's lesliethelifecoach@gmail.com. Hope to hear from you.